Let's do a really good job when we get out there, okay?
We're gonna do a really good job when we get out there because the pod is back. How proud are you of us? It is week 3. We have done 3 podcast episodes. We are on track for this season. Taking it for real, for real. I'm your host, Sean Fitzgerald. With me, as always, my partner in crime, Jerry LeBlanc. We are talking week 2 reactions. We're talking the injury bug and who's been hit hard by some big running back injuries and other injuries. We are going to talk waiver wire and all the big bills that are being spent on there, and we'll predict week 3. So let's get right into it. Not going to waste any time. I've already got the matchup pulled up. It's my coming out party. Phrasing. I had a week finally, and I needed every bit of it because window, man, it sucks when you're the second highest scorer in a week and taking L. I am so sorry, buddy. But I mean, great performances all around in this matchup. What were your thoughts?
Um, I mean, yeah, like it sucks when you put up 100 and essentially 160 and you lose. Uh, can't relate right now. So I feel like in past years, I can relate to, but this year, no, I can't relate right now. But no, I mean, it sucks for him too because like he did so well while getting less than 1 point out of like his RB1.
It's more than
It's kind
that. So not only did Brees Hall have the absolute a very a no good, very bad day, but Anthony Richardson was lighting the world on fire with 2 rushing touchdowns, put up 17 points in like the first half, and then got knocked on the. But on the second touchdown, his head hit the ground hard with that concussion. He was out the rest of the game. He could have easily gone on to have a monster day, and with the margin of victory being 5, those 2 things, it's just really unfortunate for Window.
Yeah, and I mean, so I think that he really has some positive things to look at. It's like you said, Anthony Richardson leaves the game early. I mentioned Brees Hall gives him less than 1 point. He could have had a better day if he started Sam Howell. By the way, Cam Akers just got traded to
To
Minnesota.
Minnesota, yep.
Have more work. And that's just completely ignoring the fact that Jonathan Taylor's sitting in his IR spot. Like Window, despite the loss, should be feeling really good about his team right now.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. And Puka might be one of the best, might be the pickup of the season that he got, not even on the waiver wire, just literally sniped as a free agent right before games.
Yeah, I'm a little frustrated by that because with Cooper Cup going down, so I think that's going to be a little bit up and down just because if when Cooper Cup comes back, his role is obviously going to be reduced. But like, holy fucking shit, 35 targets over 2 games.
A record, an NFL record.
I have Tutu Atwell sitting on my bench who has done well in both of these weeks, and it's not even close.
It was unbelievable. Like at the league event on Sunday, all I was saying over and over was, "Oh, I gotta raise my volume." Jason says. So a couple things in the chat. McMillan says, "Let's go," because he's excited about the pod, and then said, "Raise your volume, Sean." So I'm gonna try to do that. McMillan, let me know if you can hear me a little bit better right now. And Brad says, "Nah, dude, panic button on window." Brad, explain your logic in the chat if you want to while we're talking. But yeah, dude, I honestly like all the league event. I'm talking about like Puka, stop it! Like you're ruining my day.
Fuck, stop hitting me.
Yeah, you're a hooker. So that was a rough thing to watch, but honestly, I am on cloud 9 as well as Window because this was exactly what I needed from my team after a tough week 1 loss and I didn't score very well in week 1 to see Mostert was a huge pickup late in the draft that, given all the injury issues to other Miami running backs, the fact that he's the one guy carrying the ball, he's getting tutties. Mahomes put up at least 20, which was good. Higgins
bounced back after a goose egg in week 1.
Huge because he was my first wide receiver off the board. Saquon, although he's going to be out for a couple weeks, like 3 weeks probably, he put up 24. So and the best part is I didn't have to hit the panic button here because DeAndre Swift had a 25-point day himself and looks like he might be establishing himself as more of a not a bell cow by any stretch, but certainly someone who's going to get his touches in Philly. So
he's at least going to look like an RB1 for some portion of the game where Well, then in week one, it was like he had like one carry through the first half or something.
Exactly. So after injuries to Jerry Judy, who's now back, but Deontay Johnson's out.
The first half. Sorry, he had one carry in the entire game in week one. My bad.
Right. I'm feeling a lot better about my team. So let's move on now to a very surprising result here. The narrowest matchup of the week. Zach beating Alex by like 1.4 points. And this and my matchup both could have ended up in a tie, depending on the Monday night games. Didn't, but this one was razor thin margins.
Yeah, I like Zach. I guess is a little lucky to come away with a win here when the
He's a
Giants
luck
put up.
box.
Zach is a luck box. Like that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Like I'm just tired of it because like this whole I'm gonna wait. Like I did it 2 years, 3 years ago, whatever it was. I waited late, got mediocre quarterbacks, and then they fucking sucked. And he's out here picking up mediocre quarterbacks, and they're just like, we're just gonna put up 40 a game. It's fine between his two quarterbacks. Like Russell Wilson is not a winning quarterback anymore, but he gave him 26 this week. Jordan Love is not a good quarterback. He still gives him 20 this week. I'm just like, I'm furious.
They're both going to have worse matchups. Really quick to back up just 1 second. Brad did comment in the chat. Puka will regress even before Cup comes back. Brees Hall's no longer an RB1.
I would say probably yes. He's not Cooper Kupp. He's not going to be a walking 25 points per game like he's been so far. But like you cannot argue with 17 targets per game. If he gets half of that, you're happy in target wise.
Absolutely.
Like, if you're getting 9 targets a game, you're thrilled. He's getting 17 targets per game right now. It's absurd.
It's insane. He says Brees Hall's no longer an RB1 without Rodgers, and he says if Akers was the guy, he wouldn't have been traded. Can't be comfortable with 2 Colts in the flex, super flex. Window needed to come away with a win this week. All fair points. But back to this matchup. I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I think both Russell Wilson and Jordan Love, they haven't had games where they've really struggled too much yet. They are going to, right? And his backup...
I feel like they've had pretty good matchups so far to start the season.
They do, but I mean, Russell Wilson's playing Miami this week. So it's not like Miami's pass defense looked a lot better in week 2.
Sure. And I was just speaking to the fact that Jordan Love has played Chicago and Atlanta so far. Does anyone expect those 2 teams to make the playoffs?
Absolutely not. Although Atlanta is 2-0,
well,
so credit
they're
where credit's
2-0, but still, and like Russell Wilson's played Las Vegas and Washington.
Right.
I'm not expecting either one. Like they've gotten decent matchups to start the year.
100% agree. But and Zach doesn't have a backup, so there are going to be weeks where he's going to be feeling the hurt of this quarterback issues. But
yeah, at some point he's going to have to start like Desmond Ridder.
Right. But like. Here's the interesting. Brad said also just got home from a dub in kickball, eating a victory stick. Now sticks are unbelievable. I'm glad you still have the sticks. So just talking about this this Zach Alex matchup. Zach also, I mean, and again, injuries happen to everybody, right? But Nick Chubb had 6.4 points before his possibly career-ending injury. Like. Ostensibly, he was going to score more than that. Alex really had this win locked up, but for that injury. Freiermuth was playing on.
I was with Zach on Monday night when that game was going on, and I was like, "This is bullshit." I bet on Chuba Hubbard to get 30 rushing yards, and he gets 5 rushing yards. But it's like, no, it's cool. He's just gonna catch the ball a bunch and give Zach his backdoor luck box win.
Meanwhile, Pat Freiermuth puts up 0.7 points as Alex's tight end. Just everything broke right at the last minute for Zach. It's nothing new. Alex did also leave some points on his bench, but I wouldn't have necessarily made any different plays.
I mean, I think you can make arguments. I know Brandon Ayuk looked like the RB or the wide receiver 1 in San Francisco in week 1, but you can make arguments for Tyler Lockett over Brandon Ayuk.
I would have said DJ Moore.
DJ Moore.
Yeah, I would have said DJ Moore.
He just as easily could have started Tyler Lockett over any one of, honestly, even Chris Olave. I'm not saying he should, but you could make arguments for Tyler Lockett in that spot.
All right, fun little exercise before we move on from this matchup. Which of these 2 teams would you rather have?
I mean, as of right now, I feel you have to lean Zach just because he just lost Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
AJ Dillon splitting time at best. I don't know. I still like, obviously, I like Alex's quarterbacks way better. And I think that that's eventually going to show. But I don't know. I'm pretty, like, correct me if I'm wrong. Was Nick Chubb not either his first or second pick?
I believe he was his second round pick, if I remember correctly.
Like,
I'll
I
double check
mean,
the draft board.
yeah, like I'm pretty sure he was his second pick. It's like, it's kind of tough losing your second pick for the season in week two.
Yeah. No, I mean obviously. Um, let me really quickly. I just want to see if I can locate the
It
draft
was
board.
just like Nick Chubb's name. He was the second pick. I looked at it.
Yep, he was the 16th overall. So, let's move on to Jason Smith versus James. And of the five guys, this is great because of the five guys that attended the league event on Sunday, Jason Smith was the only person not to win. Zach pointed that out, and Jason goes, "Why the fuck am I getting put on blast? Or why am I catching shade for this?" What are your thoughts?
I mean, not having Austin Eckler hurts.
Sure.
Like, and Josh Kelly, who's supposed to be the easy plug and play replacement there, gives him less than 4. Didn't
Kyron
Jalen Waddle
Williams.
get hurt? Didn't Jalen Waddle get hurt?
Concussion. Yep,
Yeah. So
he is doubt. I would say he's questionable listed from Mike McDaniel's press conference today. I would call it doubtful.
yeah. But I'm saying, like, mid game he leaves out there. It's also just like kind of this difficult thing where, like, Kyle Pitts is like an A talent with like a C minus, like, on the field production.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he won't score points. Like, I had him last year. He has all the talent in the world. He they don't throw the ball enough.
It's
He's I don't know.
it's
I don't
unbelievable.
watch Atlanta football. Maybe he just doesn't get separation. But I just think,
No,
like, the quarterback play is not good enough. The wide receivers aren't good enough. You would think with how good the running game is, he should be open all the time,
yeah.
and he refuses to
It's
score.
it's incredibly poor. It's incredibly poor either play calling or scheming because he is a dynamic talent. There's no question about that. And yet it just feels like they're constantly underutilizing him. And they are a run heavy team, to be fair. But it feels like Desmond Ritter.
The ball for a tight end, like,
Yeah,
play action, dump off to the tight end should be like
but
automatic. And
Ritter,
he's just
if Ritter's first read isn't there, he's taking off. He's trying to do something on the ground with his legs. It's Justin Fields syndrome, right? And it's
uh,
well, except Justin Fields now has apparently forgotten how to do that.
yeah.
Um,
I said I had Kyle Pitts last year, and, like, that's why I was not big on him this year. But it's just all the talent in the world. He's the 28th best tight end
yeah,
in fantasy terms. Like, it's just like
frustrating.
shitty. It's like,
Yeah,
no, like, taking him in the 8th round there should have been the right move.
I wholeheartedly agree. And just one thing to catch up on the chat with, Brad said, I think we're seeing more evidence that three wide receivers waters down the value of the super flex. Definitely an advantage to those who waited on their second QB or first in Zach's case. I'd say yes and no, right? Because, like, I think you're seeing an advantage to some, but not all. I do think QB values were much better across the board this week. I mean, just look at this matchup, right? Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff putting up 50. Geno and Dak putting up 40 and change. Like, you are seeing higher floors this week than you did last week.
30.
Dak and Geno?
7. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at projections. My bad. Yeah, you're right. 40
Yeah.
and change. 4.
So, like, but my point is just that, like, there were higher floors this week, but there were also, I mean, last week there were some 6s, some 9s, you know. So it's going to be interesting to see those stats across the season. The other thing I'd say here is, out of these two teams, I think both are going to find themselves in the playoff conversation. Just looking at them on paper, I really love. I mean, you love to see the production on James's bench. You love to see Brian Robinson having a monster day. You love to see Baker has still looked like competent, although again he hasn't really played anyone of any note. But Jason, the question I have for Jason is, with injury issues, does he have the depth to get by, right? He's already lost Eckler. I don't know what Eckler's status is right now.
I don't think the rushing.
Right. So, and if Kyron Williams is the guy and Josh Kelly isn't, then that's already testing his running back depth. Pacheco might be serviceable as kind of a fill-in, but that's depleting your strength. And then you've also got Jalen Waddle, who's now in the concussion protocol. Like,
Yeah.
you're really struggling. I mean, I guess you put in Michael Thomas. You move Connor maybe to RB2. You put Michael Thomas in for Waddle, and then I guess you put Pacheco in the flex. But already you can see how much weaker of a roster that is.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I was expecting more from Michael Thomas.
Yeah,
So, I mean, 8.6, 9.0, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Saints are 2-0, right?
they are.
Like, they're winning. They're just not scoring points in the process.
Do you think there's some
Like,
kind do you think there's a causal relationship there though? Because I mean, in theory, some of like a wide receiver's value can be like it's the Kirk Cousins thing, right? Like you can boost someone's fantasy value at the end of a garbage time game by getting some meaningless, catches
yeah.
and touchdowns. So maybe they're. I mean, I haven't followed the game script of the Saints games. I'd have to look at that further. But, so skipping to Brad versus Jerry, um, it's tough because, and I'm not saying you lit the world on fire. I mean, you were lowest in scoring. It's and we can get into the reasons why in a minute. But I just want to point out really quick. I'm going to move to the standings for a second. Brad is currently 8th in points scored, and he is 2-0. Must be nice.
Yeah, that would be lovely. No, like Joe Burrow apparently he got the bag and doesn't care anymore. Like I don't have another explanation, but besides that, like he's just the Bengals offense is just I don't know what the word I'm looking for right now is. Shitty, I guess is like the best word. They don't fucking care. It's like it's melancholy. It's shitty. It's just they're just bad, and they end up getting 24 points here. But it was just like 15 out of Joe Burrow. He had 3 last week. Like this is like worst case for me. Like my top 2 picks have combined in the first 2 weeks to give me 20 points. Not even 20 points.
I don't think all is doom and gloom in your roster. Really quick, McMillan added in the chat, it's back on the Saints thing. It's because Derek Carr sucks, and I guess McMillan would know that given that he's a Raiders fan. But so not all is doom and gloom on your team. Kenneth Walker found the end zone and put up decent numbers. Calvin Ridley, I know he had a bad week last week, but
he was inches away from like a 40-yard touchdown that would have tied that.
Right.
Like
so
he very could have put up 15 this week.
Absolutely, and he by like eye test, right? Calvin really looks like the guy in Jacksonville.
I'm not worried about him.
Yeah, and like Tua, like again, put up 12 points, but like honestly, their offense. Everyone talks about their offense being the scariest offense in the NFL.
I'm convinced that FanDuel made a call and said Tua can't complete any more passes in the second. I made a bet that night. Over 21 completions is what I needed. He had 16 or 17 completions in the first half. He had 0 completions in the fourth quarter after having 21 through the first 3.
Oh, that sucks.
Sorry, I guess he technically have 1 pass that was caught in the fourth quarter. That interception that he threw.
I know that 40-yard unnecessary bomb.
No, he had 15 fucking points going into the fourth quarter. And I'm like, oh yeah, he's going to give me like another 22. He's going to be QB1 after this week again. It's like, nope, he just in a 1-score game couldn't complete a pass in the fourth quarter. I don't get it.
But like I said, I don't think it's time to hit the panic button on your team just yet, because with like Burrow and Mixon are absolutely capable of a rebound. Kenneth Walker and Calvin Ridley look absolutely fine. Gabe Davis put up numbers, and Tua is going to get his. And you also have some decent players on your bench. You've got Matt Stafford as a backup quarterback when you need him. You got Cooper Kupp on IR, right?
Yeah, no. Cooper Kupp going to the IR hurts. I mean, that really is the big thing that has kind of killed the beginning of my season. Yeah. I was debating between him and Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's been wide receiver 1, I'm pretty sure, so far, and Cooper Kupp is watching games from the sideline. I'm not too concerned with my team. Like Jamal Williams also gets hurt. I'm pretty sure I don't remember if it was concussion or if it was a knee. Like he's supposed to be the goal line guy. Gives me like 2.9 before he goes out.
Right.
Like I have some positives to look at my team. Like I think I'm gonna do better than what my team has done so far. It's just like, no, I kind of expected my team to be kind of middle of the road this year, and I'm getting like too many random. Oh, hey, George Kittle, by the way, can't get more than like 4 targets a game.
Yeah.
Well, like I know there's mouths to feed, but like he's just the yardage just is not there.
Yeah. No, I mean absolutely. And I'm trying to think. I think I picked Brad for my bottom 3 in this season's predictions. Um it's crazy cuz he is 2-0 and I wouldn't at this point, it's tough to bet against a 2-0 team making the playoffs based on the start. But then again, I was 0-4, made the final, so I guess anything can happen. With Brad's team though, it's still to me doesn't necessarily. Kyron Williams might be the saving
Doesn't
grace
it,
because
they just it doesn't jump off the page at you.
yeah, exactly right. Like Josh Allen and Brock Purdy have been okay, but not like lighting the world on fire in the first couple weeks.
I don't think he's happy about having to start Dotson every week.
Jameer Gibbs
Like,
and Etienne have both not been great.
yeah, I mean, yeah, like,
And when we talk
I
about
mean, if you're playing against 100 in this league, if you're playing against 110 every week, like you're just going to win games.
right, he does have to his credit, like Rashad White had a game last week finally. Christian Watson is coming is going to come back from injury, but like I don't know, just like I said, his roster doesn't necessarily strike fear into me yet, but it's early in the season.
Yeah.
Last matchup of the recap is McMillan and Scotty. Scotty going to 2-0 in his first season.
I told you guys from the start I liked his team.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Like, no, like he had a lot of players that I was hoping to be able to get. Like, I know, like there was like a thing on the podcast. I didn't get to watch a lot of the podcast. I was at a wedding this weekend. It's like, oh, every year he says that people are taking his pits. Like, no, like literally this year, like Scotty took every single person I was hoping would be there. Like, that was not an exaggeration.
The
Usually
best,
happens like to me, like it was like 6 picks that Scotty took from me. And that's
the,
why I'm like, no, I really like his team.
the best thing Scotty could do for himself right now. If you're listening to the pod, here's a free tip. The best thing you could do for yourself right now, you should be shopping one of your wide receivers. Because yes, you can absolutely start Tyreek, Devontae Smith, Keenan Allen, and Nico Collins as your 3 wide receivers in your flex. But if I were you, I would look to bolster that running back core. Josh Jacobs is fine. You can start him every week. I'd probably start Javonte Williams over Madison at this point, given the Cam Akers trade. But like to me, that running back stable, you got to get some help there, because when Josh Jacobs is on bye, those running backs are going to be a liability.
Yeah. So I mean, he also runs into a bigger problem too. Like Alexander Madison is not going to be the starter now because correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Minnesota did trade for Cam Akers?
They did.
So like you're expecting, like you're never making that trade to sit Cam Akers on the bench.
Right. So like I just think he's got to make a trade he's got to trade one of those wide receivers, or even, I mean, if he wants to, a quarterback. But I wouldn't want to necessarily give away either Lamar or Danny Dimes and have to start Mac Jones all season long.
Yeah.
So
in theory, he expects Kyler Murray to come back, who's sitting in his IR spot.
True. And then looking at McMillan's team, honestly, I'm surprised like he had such a down week because, I don't get me wrong, I think he's weak at wide receiver, but he's got some players.
Yeah, I think it was just for some, like this week it was just a lot of average. Najee Harris gives him less than 5. Michael Pittman, number 1 wide receiver there, right? I mean, less than 10. Dameon Pierce, less than 5.
Well, and Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence putting up 20.
I honestly, yeah. I mean, Deshaun Watson's this weird thing. Like, I don't think Deshaun Watson gives a fuck either. Like, Trevor Lawrence should be giving more than 9. Like, that's gonna rebound for sure. But yeah, no. I mean, that's things like you expect Deshaun Watson to give you more than 11.
The big thing with McMillan, my big concern with McMillan is like he's got some amazing players, but he really doesn't have depth at all. Like looking at his bench, there's nothing. If he
has to start anyone who's on his bench, he's not happy about it right now.
No. So that's the week 2 recap. Let me actually, given what we discussed, I just want to really quickly, before we move on to the waiver wire, is there one team that you feel like has been hardest hit by injuries? I mean, is it Alex with getting hit with Nick Chubb? Is it? I mean, we talked about we talked about Jason Smith. The Waddle injury. I think that's all for him though, but he's kind of had to deal with Josh Kelly not really performing.
I mean, I don't think anyone has overly stood out. Like everyone right now can make a complaint about some type of injury.
Sure.
I guess Chubb actually being done for the year might be the worst one so far because it's the only one that's like definitive.
Season
But,
ending of a second rounder.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, because like I said, everyone kind of has a little bit of something.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
I mean,
fair.
Cup on the IR that sucks to start a season, but like again, it's not like I can complain too hard because, like you said, there's just so many people who have good players that are sitting
Injured.
out. Barkley's hurt, like it's
Yeah,
there's just, everybody has something that's going on with it.
yeah. Let's go to the offers report for last week and talk about some of these big purchases. We saw money flying this week. Jerome Ford being the big cash prize.
So I am very surprised. I didn't do anything last week, and I saw a lot of the talk of people were putting out a whole bunch of big dollar amounts. Uh, I thought I was going a little crazy betting 400 for Jerome Ford.
Yeah,
I don't even think I was top three,
you
if
weren't.
I'm remembering.
You were tied. You actually, ironically, you and McMillan tie with the same exact bet, even though we're in $1,000 amounts. You both put in 40% of your budget on this. Alex put in 55% of his budget. Window bet $1 higher than Alex, 55.2, but Jason 64.9% of his budget on
So
adding Jerome
again,
Ford.
I didn't get to watch the whole podcast. I kind of skimmed through it a little bit, but I thought there were people who put in like 30, 40% of their budget last week. How the fuck does half the league have 40% of their budget to blow on one person?
So right now, just to give you an idea of the budget summary of the league, there are only two players with their full budget, you and Zach. After that, it's I think Window has Window and McMillan have essentially 1,000. They're missing $1 or $2. I've got 900, and then it's let me see. James has 890. Scotty has 750. Alex has 640. Brad has 590, and Jason in last place $350.
I
So
mean, essentially all of it was. It's funny because you look at these top numbers and it's 650, 550, 550, 400. You know what would make it way more interesting? What I think would make that way more interesting? If you bet an amount, if you don't get them, you don't get that money back.
that would be crazy.
No one would have fucking shit.
Well, no, you'd spend your whole budget on one player. Basically, you'd fire a bullet.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if I was like 100% that I was going to win. It wouldn't have surprised me if someone bet more than me. I didn't expect to be that far behind.
What I thought was funny is,
Hold on, really? Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but
go.
is there anyone who didn't put one in for Jerome Ford? Did everybody in the league put one in for him?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, there were two people who did not, and I'll try to figure out who.
Who did not? That is my question.
It would be Brad and and I'm going to talk about what Brad said in the chat in a minute. It would be Brad and somebody. I'm trying to put together the last team I haven't seen. Scotty, hold on. Zach, Brad and Zach did not put a bid in for Jerome Ford. Everyone else put in a bid. A couple things Brad said in the chat also. He said top 2 to 3 players in the first weeks go for 35 to 45%, but remember, you don't lose it unless you win the bid. I think to your idea about bidding and not getting the money back, Brad said dumbest idea of the week goes to, and then Brad also said I didn't bid. So yeah. What I thought was interesting here, so we had Jerome Ford went, obviously, and everyone was trying to drop dime on him. Then Matt Breida went to Scotty at 166. I also bid 98 for him, but I was the only other person to bid for him. And then I also bid on Kareem Hunt. You put in a $0 bid on Kareem Hunt.
You know, I don't know what's funny is that after I put in the bid for Jerome Ford, I was like, Kareem Hunt could be like a weird one that could end up with him. Let me put like $5 on it. And then I literally submitted it and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? He's a free agent who's not on the team. I don't need to bet 5. I can get him for 0. And then it happened. And the next morning I was like, I didn't get either one. Who the fuck put it in for? And I was like, oh, Sean put 10% of his budget on a team yet.
Well, to be fair, though, what I think is funny is you and I have talked. you and I have talked about chess, not checkers, and I now own the backup running back to the Cleveland Browns at less than 1/6 of the price Jason Smith just paid. And it is absolutely possible that Kareem Hunt eventually, in a couple weeks, ends up being getting the lion's share of carries in a game.
Like it's possible. I do think that if Kareem Hunt was good enough to be on a roster, he would have been on a roster for the first 2 weeks of the season.
Maybe.
People weren't willing to pay him the amount of money. Uh, Obviously, the talent is there. I'm surprised Kareem Hunt wasn't on a roster, but
If
yeah, no, it made me laugh because I literally went from 5 to 0, and I was like, "This is dumb. I don't need to be betting money on a person who literally isn't on a roster." And yeah, I mean, not close.
All right, let's do the week 3 predictions and see what we've got coming down the pipe. Starting as always with the commissioners matchup, it is James versus myself, 2 1-1 teams. There's actually a good bit of parity in the league. I think there's 3 2-0s, 3 0-2s, and 4 1-1s. So projections. Actually, let me, instead of doing the fantasy cast, let me go to the box score, which does those predictions. The line right now is 4.5 in favor of James. I do have some question marks about my roster. Saquon's not going to play, nor is Deontay Johnson the IR. I probably rock this roster. Jerry Judy's the only person I would think about instead, but I don't know honestly who I would put him in for at this point. So this is probably what I'm running with. If I had to pick this matchup, I am going to predict myself. I do think the Cowboys' defense against Arizona could be a game changer, as it has been all season long for James. But I just really think the floor on... I don't think we've found like guys like Hollywood and Zay Flowers' floor yet this season, but I think at a certain point you are going to. I do think he's got some studs in his lineup, but I also have to think that Justin Fields at some point is going to like he talked in this week in press conferences about like getting back to what made him great, getting back to like if he doesn't see a read, just improvising and doing and less thinking, more acting. And Patty Mahomes is bound to have a blow up game at some point. So I'm gonna predict myself and try to ride this wave after being the number 1 scorer last week.
So while I think it's going to be relatively close, I'm kind of leaning towards James in this. Like, obviously, there's the 4.5 point spread that on the current thing, but just really quick, look at the
averages. I was looking at that as you were talking.
The players he has in right now are averaging 155. Now,
to be fair,
Cowboys at 26 is going to come down.
But yeah,
I don't think it's coming down this week against Arizona, who started. Who are they starting at quarterback? I don't know. Like
Josh Dobbs.
Okay. Like it's the guy who couldn't beat out Colt McCoy until like the last week before the season started.
Hey, Josh Dobbs had a very good first half last week and then didn't play the second half.
I'm liking what his team is looking like this week. So
yeah, that's fair.
And also, like, you gotta remember, I think that Jamar Chase is gonna at some point get back to more of a legitimate wide receiver rather than a 6 point per game player.
Nope, T Higgins all day.
T Higgins.
Window versus Alex, and this is one of the only must-win matchup of the week. It's not. I started 0-4, made the finals, as I keep saying over and over. But both these teams are 0-2. This is a big matchup for their just seeding standings. So projections are 11 points in favor of Window right now.
Yeah, is there like somebody that's not starting or something?
No.
That's a big gap. I'm surprised to see a gap that big, actually.
I mean, like, he has Christian Kirk instead of Brandon Ayuk. If Brandon Ayuk plays, there's a higher projection, obviously. But even the averages, like you mentioned, it's about a 30-point swing in favor of Window's team. I mean, I feel like you have to go Window here, right?
I don't see how you don't.
Yeah.
I think that window has a, I want to say, like, no, I mean, like the quarterback situation is actually pretty split, but like,
I always
I
love
think Zach Moss is going to regress a little bit. I don't think he's really a 19 points per game player.
and he's playing Baltimore's run D.
Yeah, I
I
think that's going to bring it back down to earth a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I do lean window, but I think it's, I don't think the 11-point spread is quite as, I don't think it's quite that big of a gap.
Well, and always do love when you have matchups against each other. Like so they're both starting the opposing defenses. So that Jets Patriots game might play a big role in who has the kind of edge outside of the skill position players. Um, but yeah, it will certainly be interesting to see. So it sounds like we're both kind of leaning window there. Moving to your matchup against Zach, you have a chance to send Zach to 2-1 and get to 1-2, but you are a 9-point underdog in this matchup.
I'm gonna be honest. I haven't completely looked at my roster since the thing switched over, so I don't know if there's anything I would do differently. Oh yeah, well I have Jamal Williams, who's currently sitting with 0 points in my flex. So
Yeah. So
clearly, assume I here. Give me 5 seconds. Let me switch in somebody that I might actually start in there if he's actually projected for 0, and then let's see where the lineup
I
is.
will do just that. Let me know when you've done it.
Uh, yeah, I guess Tutu Atwell's probably who I'd start. Maybe Josh Reynolds if he wasn't questionable. But all right, now let's take a look at it.
All right. Give me 1 second. Loading, enhance. All right. Now that has you as a 4.4 point favorite.
All right, so obviously I'm taking my son. No, I mean I do still like my quarterback matchups. I like Joe Burrow eventually has to not be the 31st best quarterback in the NFL for fantasy purposes.
Are you sure about that?
At some point that can't be a thing anymore. He's eventually going to actually have a decent day. And I don't know if it's going to be this week, but I believe that at some point Joe Burrow and Tua is going to prove that they are better than Russell Wilson and Jordan Love.
So I gotta stop you for 1 second because we had someone in the chat who I do not recognize. Someone just commented in the chat saying "made it." The name of this person is Cocaine Flatty. I
Oh my
don't know.
god. No, fucking Polly.
I don't know, is it?
Watch.
Oh, this
That
might be
better not
Samantha's
be.
friend Polly.
That better not be his name. That's all I have to say. That better not be his
The name
name.
is I kid you not, Cocaine Flatty, Flatty. Whoever you are, please announce yourself in the chat just so I know who this great named person is. So so anyway,
Share my league, but I didn't even share it.
Brad said that's Jason.
Jason who?
I guess Jason Smith. Oh, this is Jason. I was making fun of a flat earther. Long story. Brad at least knew it was Jason. So, what up, Jason? We haven't predicted your matchup yet. We will soon. So, looking at this matchup, I agree with you that Joe Burrow is due for a bounce back. Tua has a great matchup against the Broncos. So, I think you are going to have the better side of the quarterback play here. And I think, conversely, Russell Wilson's going to come down to earth against the Dolphins. Jordan Love is...
Go ahead.
I was just say Jordan Love is playing the Raiders. The Saints. They're not a particularly good pass defense, but again, some regression is bound to happen.
I mean,
right?
I'm pretty sure the Saints are 2-0, and they've not. I don't think they've scored more than 25 points in a game yet.
Right.
Like defense has been there. I will say that Zach does have a few questionables too. Derrick Henry questionable, Aaron Jones questionable, Amari Cooper questionable. I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong. DeAndre Hopkins hasn't been lighting the world on fire in Tennessee. Like I said, I think it's. I'm expecting some of my players to be playing a little bit better than they have so far. Again, I'm not 100% sure that this is the exact lineup that I'm going with. Although, like pretty much everybody on my bench is looking like questionable, so this probably is it. I mean, I really think it could go either way. Obviously, it's within a point projection wise.
I'm going to give you the nod, but it's contingent on Joe Burrow playing, obviously. If for some reason Joe Burrow's ankle holds him out, It would. I mean, even with Matt Stafford as your backup against Cincy, I feel like you need a. And maybe I guess to be fair, I'm gonna withdraw the comment I just made because now that I'm thinking about it, Matt Stafford against Cincy's Cincy has been giving up points to fantasy quarterbacks, so that doesn't necessarily strike fear in me. And Matt Stafford is viable, even though he hasn't been lighting the world on fire this year without Cooper Kupp. I'm gonna give you the edge, and I should just pick Zach because I know that by not picking Zach, it gives his luck the chance to take root.
First of all, fuck Zach. His team is bad. I'm gonna be. He shouldn't be 2-0. He's a bottom 3 roster. He's not making the playoffs. Just definitively.
I really, really hope you win.
I'm trying to do a reverse jinx situation.
Anyway, now for Cocaine Flatty's match up against.
Is this actually Jason's name? What the fuck?
Yeah, Cocaine Flatty. Versus Harbo's Hurts. So the line here is 18.4 in favor of Scotty.
I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier.
Austin Eckler
will not be okay. Yeah,
Austin Eckler is out or is questionable, but is projected at 0. If you put
an extra 12 points, 13 points.
Yeah, I mean, right now I assume you would put in James Conner there for 12. I don't know if he's going to start Pacheco or his new pickup Ford. Because it's entirely possible that he spent... This is another crazy thing. He might have spent 65% of his budget on a player that won't see the field. Refresh. Oh, he must have just updated his roster. Hold on.
I was going to say, he has to start Jerome Ford. You don't use 60% of your budget and then not use...
I don't know.
He's going to start. If Austin Eckler does not play, Jerome Ford will be in his starting lineup.
Jerome Ford is not in his starting lineup right now. He just changed it.
Yeah, that's great. Like he's going to start Jerome Ford.
No, here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing. He has Tony Pollard, Josh Kelly, and Isaiah Pacheco in right now. He also has James Conner on his bench, who's averaging 13 a game.
I understand. He used 60% of his budget. He's going to start running Ford if Austin Eckler doesn't play.
How great would it be if he didn't? If he used 65%.
Great. Jason's not like Jason. I don't think Jason's doing that.
Highest projected in. Ford has a bad matchup. We'll see. Yeah. So the other thing he's got to worry about is both Sun God and Penguin are questionable. So if Waddle's out or if Amon-Ra St. Brown is out, I mean, again, he's gonna have to go to slant boy Michael Thomas, and then after that, his only other wide receiver on his roster is Romeo Doubs.
Yeah,
he has alluded to possibly there being a trade in the works. Wink, wink. So I assume there might be some dealings going on between.
We have our first ever trade announcement on the pod.
Ooh, is it official?
I don't know. He ain't trading with me. I'm just giving him time to comment and tell us who he's trading with. But,
yeah, give us some deets. So,
but anyway, obviously, I'm leaning towards Scotty in this matchup.
I am too.
Oh, let's get to the point here. Yeah, I'm going Scotty. I think Scotty gets to 3-0, and
too many injuries for Jason right now.
Yeah, and apparently he might not start the guy who spent 65% of his budget on.
What an idiot! So last up, McMillan versus Brad. Line is currently 6.3 points in favor of McMillan. And to be clear, that's who I'm giving the nod to. I picked Brad as bottom 3. I think he's fortunate to be 2-0. Sorry, Brad. Love you. Had a great time at your house on Sunday, but I'm picking McMillan.
So I'm gonna just throw this out here. Brad, for seasons now, has had mediocre teams and bad luck. And I think this year he's just gonna have like a decent team and really good luck. And he's curry favor with the fantasy gods by going and sitting at a Waffle House forever. And he's just gonna have that. Like, remember that year where James went like 13-1 in the regular season because he just kept playing against like 80 points per game. This is gonna be like a Slumdog Millionaire. Brad's just gonna eke out every win every week. That's just what's going to happen. And Brad's going to move to 3-0. That's just what's going to happen here.
He does have.
And also, McMillan took Deshaun Watson, and Deshaun Watson doesn't deserve good things. So
this isn't personal. Two things Brad and Cocaine Flatty said. Brad said Jason's lowest average skill player is 8.8. Don't know why y'all are panicked. And Jason Smith said, number 2 scoring in league, my team is trash. So,
what?
I guess he's being sarcastic, saying his team is second in scoring, so his team is sarcastic, saying my team is trash.
Did I say that his team is trash?
No, but we both picked him to lose.
I know. I'm just saying that I like Scotty's team.
Yeah. Yeah. I really now looking at the standings. So there's already a 100-point difference in the standings between first in scoring and last in scoring, and it's James is the highest scorer. Alex is 100 points behind him already.
Oh, I kind of assumed that I was the lowest. I'm not the lowest in scoring. That's
you're 10 points higher than Alex.
Okay, well that's.
But hey, honestly, in weeks where we're now scoring, I mean, with Superflex and 3 wide receivers, right? The scoring is so inflated. So any given week, you could put up 160, 170, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, yeah, big weeks can happen very easily, especially with the extra wide receiver.
And Brad's point.
Nothing, obviously, we're only 2 weeks in. Nothing is out of reach at this point.
Right. And Brad's point, by the way, about the Jason's lowest average skill player is 8.8. He said, because we both said he should be worried about injuries, he has crazy depth. Well, we'll see it tested on Sunday. So I think that's it. That's the pod. We did this in a
really quick, maybe I misspoke. I feel like I didn't say anything negative about Jason's team. I really was just saying I like Scotty's team.
I said Jason's team is decimated by injuries and he should go fuck himself. And Brad also said high floor greater than high ceiling any day. I'm happy with where I'm at, and Jason should be too. Good talk. So
I never said anything bad about Jason's team. Like they're acting like I said something shitty about his team.
How dare you?
It's like I just said I like Scotty's team. I don't understand the problem.
Kelly, do you have a question? Yes, I do have a question. As a matter of fact, number 1, how dare you? But yeah, we did this pod in a tight 45. So hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, that's it. Anything else?
No, that's all I got.
Next week on the pod, we're featuring the Hagerstown boys, McMillan and Burchak. It will be on. What did we say it was? Hold on, I'm putting my announcement out now, and I'll also put it in the. Let's see. Where the hell did I put it? Here it is. Next Wednesday at 8 p.m. So, Hagerstown podcast next week. The Amber Rift podcast. But yeah, that's our show. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Good luck in your matchups. And may the injury gods be ever in your favor. Also, last comment. Jason Smith says, Cooper Kupp is still on IR until Jerry goes to Waffle House. His words, not mine. All right, later, boys.